Officer adjusted his tactical belt as the scorching Arizona sun beat down on the asphalt of Desert Ridge Park. The temperature gauge on the squad car had read 107 degrees when he'd pulled into the parking lot 20 minutes earlier. Now, standing at the Phoenix Police Department's booth at the annual Summer Community Festival, he could feel the heat radiating through his boots. Beside him, sitting in perfect military precision, was his K9 partner, Rex, a 4-year-old German Shepherd whose reputation had spread throughout the entire Phoenix metropolitan area. Rex wasn't just any police dog. He was a legend in the department. His muscular frame rippled beneath his black and tan coat, each movement displaying the power and athleticism that made him one of the most effective K9 units in the state. His dark, intelligent eyes continuously scanned the crowd with an intensity that made even hardened criminals nervous during arrests. In his 3 years of active duty, Rex had been responsible for the apprehension of 17 suspects, the detection of over $3 million in narcotics, and had successfully tracked missing persons through the harsh Arizona desert terrain where others had failed. The festival was in full swing around them. Colorful banners fluttered in the occasional hot breeze. The smell of funnel cakes, corn dogs, and cotton candy wafted through the air. Children's laughter mixed with carnival music from the wheel, and the various game booths scattered throughout the park. It should have been a joyful scene, but there was a noticeable empty space around the police booth, a clear circle where families instinctively kept their distance. Had worked these community events for 15 years, and the reaction to K9 units was always the same: fascination mixed with fear. Children would point from behind their parents' legs, whispering in awe about the big scary dog. Parents would grip their kids' hands as they walked past, offering nervous smiles while pulling their children along more quickly than necessary. "Is he going to bite?" a young boy asked his father, his voice carrying across the space between them. "Only if you're a bad guy, buddy," the father replied, but noticed how he steered his son toward the fire truck display instead. It wasn't just children. Adults gave Rex a wide berth too. The dog's intense stare and powerful build created an aura of danger that no amount of community outreach could fully overcome. Understood it intellectually, Rex was bred and trained to be intimidating. That intensity saved lives. It kept safe in the field. But standing here, watching families avoid them like they were surrounded by an invisible force field, something felt hollow about it. Officer Sarah's colleague from the Community Relations Division walked over with a clipboard and 2 bottles of cold water. She handed one and poured some water into a collapsible bowl for Rex. The dog didn't break his vigilant posture, but his tail gave a single wag of acknowledgement. "How's it going over here?" Sarah asked, surveying the empty space around them. Unscrewed the water bottle cap and took a long drink. "Same as always, people look but they don't touch." "Can you blame them? Rex looks like he could take down a bear." "He probably could," said with a slight smile. It was true. Rex had been bred from championship German working lines, trained by the best handlers in the country, and had the drive and courage that made him exceptional at his job, but sometimes wondered what it cost the dog to be so constantly on alert, so perpetually ready for action. Sarah checked something off on her clipboard. "Well, the department's happy with the visibility. Even if people don't approach, they see the K9 unit, they see law enforcement engaging with the community. It counts for something." As she walked away, looked down at Rex. The dog's ears were forward, tracking every movement in the crowd. His body was relaxed but ready, coiled spring energy just beneath the surface. They'd been partners for 3 years now, living together, training together, working the streets together. Probably spent more time with Rex than he did with any human being. After his divorce 2 years ago, Rex had become his primary companion. "You're doing great, boy," murmured, reaching down to run his hand along Rex's back. The dog's tail wagged twice, but his eyes never left the crowd. A group of teenage boys walked past, one of them making exaggerated tough guy gestures. "Yo, that dog is sick. Look at him. He's like a wolf or something." His friend pulled out his phone to take a picture. "That's the dog that caught that guy who robbed the gas stations, right? I saw it on the news." They kept their distance, though, content to admire Rex from 10 feet away. Checked his watch. They had another 90 minutes at the festival before they could head back to the station. It would be more of the same, people looking, whispering, taking photos from a distance, but never really connecting. He'd written it off years ago as just part of the job. Police dogs weren't pets. They were working animals, tools of law enforcement, and the public's fear was actually part of their effectiveness. But standing there in the oppressive heat, watching families give them such a wide berth, felt something nagging at him. A dissatisfaction he couldn't quite name. He'd become a police officer 17 years ago because he wanted to serve his community, to make connections, to protect and help people. Somewhere along the way, especially after his personal tragedies, he'd built walls. Rex had become both his partner and his barrier, a reason to keep the world at arm's length. The festival continued around them. Music played. Children screamed with delight on the rides. The smell of grilled food made stomach rumble, and through it all he and Rex stood like sentinels, respected but isolated. What he couldn't possibly know as he stood there feeling the weight of his isolation, was that one fearless 3-year-old girl was about to shatter every assumption he had about his partner, about his work, and about the walls he'd built around his own grieving heart. She was somewhere in that crowd right now, and in just a few minutes, 2 simple words from her tiny voice would change everything. Maria had been chasing her 3-year-old daughter through the festival for the better part of an hour, and her patience was wearing thin. Emma had the energy of a small tornado and the attention span of a goldfish. One moment she was begging for cotton candy. The next she was trying to climb onto the carousel before it had even stopped moving. Now, as they walked past the various vendor booths and community displays, Maria kept a firm grip on Emma's tiny hand. "Look, balloons!" Emma squealed, pointing at a clown making balloon animals near the face-painting station. "We'll get one later," Maria promised, adjusting the diaper bag on her shoulder. She was a single mother working 2 jobs, one as a receptionist at a dental office, the other doing evening shifts at a local grocery store. Days like this, free community events where Emma could run and play without costing money, were precious. But they were also exhausting. Emma's dark curly hair was pulled into 2 pigtails that bounced as she walked, and her little sundress was already stained with popsicle juice and dirt from where she'd sat on the ground earlier. At 3 years old, Emma was fearless in the way only toddlers can be, completely unaware of danger, driven entirely by curiosity and joy. They passed the fire department booth where firefighters were letting kids spray water from a real fire hose. They walked by the paramedic station where EMTs were showing families the inside of an ambulance. Emma's eyes grew wide at everything, but Maria kept them moving. She'd promised her sister they'd meet at the food trucks in 15 minutes. That's when Emma saw him. From 30 feet away, through the gaps in the crowd, her eyes locked onto Rex. The massive German shepherd sat beside a police officer, and to Emma's 3-year-old brain, this wasn't an intimidating K-9 unit. This was the biggest, most beautiful puppy she had ever seen in her entire life. "Puppy?" Emma shrieked with pure delight. Maria looked up to see what her daughter was pointing at and felt her blood run cold. That wasn't a puppy. That was a police dog, and not just any police dog. That was one of those serious working dogs that looked like it could take your arm off. The officer standing next to it looked equally serious, all tactical gear and authority. "No, Emma, that's not," Maria started to say, but Emma had already jerked her hand free. It happened so fast. One second Maria had a secure grip on her daughter's hand, and the next second Emma had twisted free with that uncanny strength toddlers somehow possess when they really want something. Before Maria could react, Emma was running. A full-speed toddler sprint, her little legs pumping, pigtails flying behind her, heading straight toward the police dog. "Emma, no," Maria screamed, her voice cutting through the festival noise. Heads turned. People stopped mid-conversation. A woman gasped audibly. Maria dropped her diaper bag and lunged forward, but she was too far behind. Emma was already halfway to the police booth, and she wasn't slowing down. Heard the mother's scream before he saw the child. His training kicked in instantly. His hand shot to Rex's collar, his body tensing, his mind racing through protocols. Rex's ears perked forward immediately, his body shifting from relaxed to alert in a fraction of a second. The dog had heard the commotion too. Time seemed to slow down in that terrible way it does during emergencies. Could see the little girl now, tiny, maybe 3 years old, running at full speed directly toward Rex. He could see the mother chasing behind, terror written across her face. He could feel the crowd around them holding its collective breath. "Rex, stay," commanded, his voice firm and controlled despite the adrenaline flooding his system. Rex remained seated, but could feel the tension in the dog's body beneath his hand. Rex had been trained to assess threats, to react to sudden movements to protect his handler. A small human running directly at them at high speed was not a scenario they'd trained for extensively. Most people, especially children, moved away from Rex, not toward him. Emma was 15 feet away now, then 10, then 5. "Emma, stop!" Maria screamed again, her voice breaking with panic. But Emma didn't stop. She didn't even slow down. In her mind, there was nothing to be afraid of. She loved dogs. Her abuela had a small Chihuahua named that Emma adored. This was just a really, really big dog, a really big puppy who needed her love. The crowd that had been giving the police booth such a wide berth was now frozen, watching in horror. A teenage girl had her hands over her mouth. An elderly man took a step forward as if to intervene but stopped, realizing he was too far away. Officer Sarah, who had been talking to a family near the fire truck, spun around at the commotion, her hand instinctively moving toward her radio. His mind was working overtime. He could pull Rex back, but sudden movements might startle the child. He could step between them, but that might cause Emma to collide with his legs and fall. He could shout at the child to stop, but she clearly wasn't listening to her own mother. Every option had risks. Rex was perfectly still under his hand, waiting for a command, waiting for direction. The dog's dark eyes were fixed on Emma now, tracking her approach. Could feel Rex's muscles coiled and ready, but for what? To lunge, to retreat, to defend. 3 feet, 2 feet. Maria was close now too, her arms outstretched, trying desperately to reach her daughter before Emma reached the dog. "I'm so sorry," she was saying, even as she ran. "Emma, please." But Emma had eyes only for Rex, 1 foot away now. The little girl's face was lit up with absolute joy, with complete trust, with innocent delight. She had no concept of danger, no understanding of the fear rippling through every adult watching this unfold. Held his breath. His heart hammered in his chest. His hand gripped Rex's collar, ready to pull the dog back if needed, praying it wouldn't be needed, hopping against hope that his partner, his fierce, professional, sometimes unpredictable partner, would somehow understand that this tiny human wasn't a threat. Emma stopped directly in front of Rex, so close that could have reached out and touched her curly head. The festival noise seemed to fade away. 50 people watched in absolute silence, holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The 3-year-old tilted her head back to look up at the massive German Shepherd towering over her. Her brown eyes met Rex's dark gaze. And then, with all the confidence and trust in the world, Emma opened her mouth to speak. Emma looked up at Rex with those bright, trusting brown eyes and spoke 2 words in her tiny, sweet voice that carried clearly through the silent crowd. "Good boy." She said it with such pure affection, such absolute conviction, that it seemed to hang in the air like a benediction. Then, without any hesitation, without any of the fear that every adult around her was experiencing, Emma reached up with her small hand, palm open, fingers splayed wide in the universal gesture of gentle greeting. The Desert Ridge Park Fairground, which moments ago had been filled with music and laughter and the sounds of carnival games, had fallen into complete silence. 50 people, maybe more, held their breath simultaneously. Phones that had been recording videos for social media were now capturing something entirely different, something none of them had expected. Felt Rex's body shift beneath his hand. For a heart-stopping moment, he didn't know what his partner would do. Rex had been trained for 3 intensive years to be alert, protective, and responsive to threats. The dog had faced down armed suspects without hesitation, had pursued fleeing criminals through dangerous terrain, had maintained absolute focus and intensity in situations that would make most humans panic. But Rex had never encountered anything quite like Emma. The German Shepherd's dark, intelligent eyes that had stared down hardened criminals, softened in a way had never witnessed in 3 years of partnership. It was as if something fundamental shifted in Rex's entire demeanor. The coiled tension that was always present in his powerful frame began to ease. His ears, which had been forward and alert, relaxed slightly. And then Rex's tail began to wag. It wasn't a vigorous wag, not the excited thrashing of a pet dog greeting its owner. It was something gentler, almost tentative, as if Rex himself was surprised by the sensation. His grip on the collar loosened in shock. In 3 years of working together, through countless hours of training and hundreds of calls, he had never seen Rex wag his tail while on duty. Not once. Officer Sarah, watching from 20 feet away, felt tears spring to her eyes. She'd worked with K-9 units for 6 years and had never seen anything like this. Maria finally reached her daughter, her hands shaking as she prepared to scoop Emma up and apologize profusely to the officer. But something made her pause. The dog wasn't aggressive. The officer wasn't pulling him back. Something remarkable was happening. Rex lowered his massive head slowly, deliberately, until his nose was nearly touching Emma's outstretched hand. The little girl's face lit up with absolute delight. She moved her hand gently onto Rex's head, her tiny fingers barely able to span the width of his skull, and began to pat him with the soft, clumsy tenderness of a toddler. "Good boy," Emma repeated, her voice filled with such genuine love that it seemed to resonate through every person watching. "Such a good boy." Felt something break inside his chest. It wasn't painful, it was the opposite. It was like a dam cracking, releasing pressure that had been building for years. His vision blurred with tears he couldn't control. His throat tightened. His hands began to tremble. Officer, who had maintained his composure through armed standoffs, who had stayed calm while pursuing suspects through dark alleys, who had kept his professional demeanor during the worst calls a police officer can respond to, felt tears spilling down his cheeks in the middle of a community festival surrounded by civilians. He couldn't stop them, couldn't control them, couldn't hide them. Emma continued patting Rex, completely absorbed in her interaction with the big puppy. Rex remained perfectly still, his tail continuing that gentle, almost wondering wag. The fierce police dog, the one who had taken down suspects twice his size, was melting under the touch of a 3-year-old girl who barely came up to his shoulder. "Good boy," Emma said again, and now she was leaning forward, wrapping her little arms as far around Rex's neck as they would go, which wasn't very far. She pressed her cheek against his fur. Soft puppy. Rex did something that made several people in the crowd gasp audibly. He leaned into the embrace. This dog, trained to maintain constant vigilance, trained to never let his guard down, trusted this tiny human completely. Dropped to his knees beside them. He couldn't stand anymore. His legs wouldn't support him. He knelt there on the hot asphalt, tears streaming down his face, watching his partner, his tough, professional, sometimes terrifying partner, transform into something he'd never imagined possible. The crowd began to murmur now, the spell of silence broken. Phones were still recording. People were wiping their own eyes. The teenage girl who'd had her hands over her mouth was crying. The elderly man who'd almost stepped forward pulled out a handkerchief to dab at his face. Maria, still standing behind Emma, felt her own tears falling. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she could feel the weight of it, the significance. This wasn't just a child petting a dog. This was something deeper, something profound. Officer Sarah approached slowly, carefully, not wanting to disturb the moment. She knelt beside and placed a hand on his shoulder. She said softly, "Are you okay?" Couldn't speak. He tried, but the words wouldn't come. He could only shake his head, not in negation but in wonder. He wasn't okay. He was completely undone, and somehow, impossibly, that felt right. Emma finally looked up from Rex and noticed kneeling there, tears on his face. Her little brow furrowed with concern, that pure, empathetic worry that children have before the world teaches them to hide their feelings. "Why you crying?" she asked him directly, tilting her head. "The puppy is nice." Let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, trying to compose himself, but it was useless. "Yes," he managed to say, his voice hoarse. "Yes, sweetheart, the puppy is very nice." Emma smiled at him, satisfied with this answer, and turned her attention back to Rex. "Good boy," she told the dog again, as if this simple phrase could heal the world. And in that moment, in the scorching Arizona heat, surrounded by stunned onlookers, Officer realized that maybe, just maybe, those two simple words could heal more than anyone ever imagined. Maria finally found her voice. "I'm so sorry, officer, she got away from me. She loves dogs," and held up a hand, stopping her apology. He looked at Maria, really looked at her, and saw the worry in her eyes, the fear that she'd done something wrong, that her daughter had caused a problem. "What's your daughter's name?" he asked, his voice still thick with emotion. "Emma," Maria said. "Emma, she's 3. Looked back at Emma, who was now attempting to tell Rex a story about her grandmother's dog in that rambling way toddlers have. Rex was listening, actually appearing to listen, his head tilted slightly as if trying to understand her words. And then the memories hit like a physical blow. The reason for his tears became crystal clear, crashing through the walls he'd built so carefully over the past 4 years. Emma had his daughter's eyes, couldn't breathe. The Arizona heat suddenly felt suffocating. Emma's brown eyes, warm, trusting, full of innocent joy, were the same shade as Lily's had been. Not just similar, identical. The exact same deep chocolate brown with flecks of amber when the sunlight hit them just right. Lily, his daughter, his baby girl who would have been 8 years old now if leukemia hadn't stolen her away 4 years ago. The memory crashed through him like a tidal wave. Lily in her hospital bed, weak from chemotherapy, her once-long hair completely gone but still smiling, still asking him to read her stories about animals, still talking about getting a puppy when she got better. "A big one, Daddy," she'd said in that wispy voice that grew quieter each day. "Like a police dog, like the ones you work with." But Lily never got her puppy. She never got better. She died 3 weeks before her 4th birthday, leaving shattered and hollow. Rex, sensing some emotional shift, turned his head away from Emma for the first time since she'd approached. The dog looked at his handler with those intelligent eyes, and in that moment would have sworn Rex understood. The German Shepherd moved slightly, positioning himself so he was touching both Emma and simultaneously, one paw extended toward the little girl, his shoulder pressed against his knee. "Officer," Maria's voice was soft, concerned. She'd seen the change in his expression, the way his face had gone pale beneath his tan. "Are you all right? Do you need me to?" "I had a daughter," said suddenly, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. He never talked about Lily, not to his colleagues, not to his ex-wife who'd left him because she couldn't stand watching him build walls around his grief, not to anyone. But here, kneeling on the hot asphalt with this stranger's child petting his dog, the words came pouring out. She was 3, almost 4. She loved dogs. His voice cracked. She wanted a big dog just like this. She used to tell me. He had to stop, had to swallow against the lump in his throat. She used to tell me that when she got better, I should bring my police dog home so she could tell him he was a good boy. Maria's hand went to her mouth. Several people in the crowd who'd been close enough to overhear went completely still. Her name was Lily, continued, tears flowing freely now, making no attempt to hide them anymore. She had leukemia. She died 4 years ago, and I couldn't. He looked at Emma, who had stopped petting Rex and was watching him with that serious expression children get when they sense something important is happening. Your daughter has the same eyes, the same fearless spirit. Maria knelt down beside, her own eyes filling with tears. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I can't imagine. I'm so sorry. Emma, with the beautiful emotional directness of a 3-year-old, reached out and patted his arm. Don't be sad, she said simply. The puppy makes it better. And somehow, impossibly, she was right. Looked at Rex, really looked at him for the first time with clear eyes. His partner wasn't just a working dog, wasn't just a tool for law enforcement. Rex was capable of this gentleness, this intuitive understanding. The dog had been trying to show him for 3 years, but had kept him locked in the role of weapon and shield, never allowing either of them to be anything more. I've been keeping him all business, said, speaking to Maria but really talking to himself. Never let him just be, never let myself just be. After Lily died, I threw myself into work, got divorced, built walls. Rex became my only companion, but even then I kept it professional, cold, controlled. Rex nudged Emma gently with his nose, making her giggle. Then the dog did something extraordinary. He lay down completely, all 85 pounds of trained police muscle relaxing onto the ground. He made himself smaller, less intimidating. And then he rolled slightly onto his side in the universal dog gesture of trust and submission. Emma squealed with delight. The puppy wants to play. She sat down right beside Rex, her little hand moving to scratch his belly. Rex's tail thumped against the ground, not the tentative wag from before, but genuine, full-bodied happiness. The crowd that had gathered was growing now. Word was spreading through the festival. You have to see this, people were saying into their phones. A police dog is playing with a toddler. Parents who'd been keeping their children far away from the police booth earlier were now approaching cautiously, their kids watching Emma and Rex with wide eyes. Officer Sarah took several photos on her phone, her mind already racing. This was exactly what the department's community outreach program needed. This authentic connection, this moment of real humanity. But more than that, she was watching her colleague, a man who'd been slowly drowning in grief and isolation, surface for the first time in years. A little boy, maybe 5 years old, stepped forward from the crowd. Can I pet the police dog too? He asked his mother nervously. Before his mother could answer, found himself nodding. Yes, come here. His name is Rex. He's very gentle. The words felt strange coming out of his mouth. For 3 years, he'd been warning people to keep back, explaining that Rex was a working dog, not a pet. But watching Rex with Emma, seeing the joy in both of them, realized he'd been wrong. Rex could be both. The dog didn't have to be locked into one role any more than did. The 5-year-old approached slowly, hand outstretched. Rex remained lying down, his tail still wagging. When the boy's hand touched Rex's fur, his face lit up with wonder. He's so soft. Good boy, Rex said, and his voice was steady now, strong. Good boy. Emma looked up at and beamed. See, he is a good boy, I told you. Maria laughed through her tears. Other children were lining up now, their earlier fear completely evaporated. Emma had broken the barrier, and now everyone wanted to meet Rex. Stood up slowly, his knees protesting after kneeling on the hot pavement. He helped Maria to her feet. Thank you, he said to her. Your daughter just gave me something I didn't know I needed. What's that? Maria asked. Looked at Emma, who was now introducing Rex to another child, explaining very seriously that you had to be gentle with puppies. Permission to heal, he said. Permission to feel again. For the next hour, Rex greeted dozens of children. Each one approached with some nervousness, but Emma stayed by the dog's side like a tiny ambassador, showing them how to pet him, telling them all that he was a good boy. She'd appointed herself as Rex's official helper and didn't have the heart to move her. Maria stayed too, apologizing every few minutes until finally told her to stop. "This is the best thing that's happened to me in 4 years," he said. "Your daughter is remarkable." As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the festival grounds, watched Emma and Rex together. The little girl had curled up against the dog's side, tired from all the excitement. Rex's head was up, alert and protective, watching the crowd but in a different way now, not assessing threats but guarding something precious. An idea was forming in his mind. It was crazy, probably impractical, definitely outside every protocol the department had. But watching Emma's chest rise and fall in peaceful breathing against Rex's warm fur couldn't shake it. What if Rex could do this all the time? What if there were other children like Emma who needed what this incredible dog could give them? What if there were other grieving parents, other scared kids, other broken people who could be healed by the same simple truth that Emma had shown him? 2 words, good boy. That's all it had taken to crack open's carefully constructed walls. What else could those 2 words accomplish? Officer Sarah approached quietly. "I've been talking to Captain on the phone. He saw the videos, they're already going viral. He wants to talk to you tomorrow about something." Nodded, his eyes still on Emma and Rex. "Good, because I have something I want to talk to him about too." The festival was starting to wind down. Maria gently woke Emma, who protested sleepily. "Don't want to leave the puppy." "I know," Maria soothed, "but we have to go home now." Emma sat up and hugged Rex around the neck one more time. "Bye-bye, puppy. You're the bestest good boy in the whole world." Rex's tail wagged, and he licked Emma's cheek gently. As Maria carried a drowsy Emma away, the little girl waved over her mother's shoulder. Waved back, feeling something he hadn't felt in 4 years. Hope didn't sleep that night. He sat in his small apartment with Rex lying at his feet, laptop open on the coffee table, researching therapy dog programs until 3 a.m. The videos from the festival had exploded online. The main clip, Emma approaching Rex and saying, "Good boy," had been viewed over 2 million times in just 8 hours. The comments section was flooded with reactions. "I'm crying at my desk right now." That officer's face. You can see his whole heart breaking and healing at the same time. We need more of this. This is what community policing should look like. But it was one comment that stopped cold. "My daughter has cancer. She's terrified of everything right now because of all the treatments. But she watched this video 5 times and asked if we could meet a police dog. She hasn't smiled in weeks." Read it 3 times, his hand unconsciously moving to Rex's head. The dog looked up at him with those knowing eyes. Around them, the apartment was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic on the Phoenix streets below. This was Lily's room once, thought, looking around at the sparse furniture, the bare walls. When he and his ex-wife Jennifer had separated, he'd taken almost nothing. Started over in this small 2-bedroom apartment. He'd made one bedroom his own and left the other completely empty, unable to decide what to do with the space. Afraid to make it into anything because that would mean accepting that Lily was never coming back. His phone buzzed. A text from Officer Sarah, "Can't sleep either. The captain wants to meet at 7 a.m. He's bringing the deputy chief." Typed back, "I'll be there. Got a proposal ready." That was fast. "I've been working on it for 4 years. I just didn't know it until today." He attached the document he'd been drafting, a comprehensive plan for a K-9 therapy program. His fingers had been flying across the keyboard for hours, words pouring out of him like a dam had burst. The Lily Foundation, he'd titled it. A dual-purpose K-9 program where dogs maintain their law enforcement duties, but also received training and certification for therapeutic visits to hospitals, schools, and crisis centers. At 6:45 a.m., pulled into the police station parking lot. He'd showered, put on his dress uniform, and rehearsed his pitch a dozen times. Rex sat in the back of the squad car, sensing something important was happening. The dog had been unusually calm all morning, as if he understood that their lives were about to change. Captain was waiting in the conference room along with Deputy Chief Martinez, a stern woman in her 50s known for running the department with military precision. Stomach tightened. This wasn't just the captain anymore. They'd brought in the brass. Captain said, gesturing to a chair, "Sit down, we've been watching the videos all night." Sat, placing his folder on the table. Rex lay down beside his chair, perfectly behaved. Deputy Chief Martinez leaned forward, her expression unreadable. "Officer, in 12 hours, that video has been viewed 8 million times. We've received over 300 calls to the department, news stations, community organizations, people wanting to know if they can meet your dog. The mayor's office called. Twice. Waited, unsure if this was good or bad. The comments section," she continued, pulling out her phone and reading directly from it, "has thousands of people sharing stories about their fears of police dogs, their children's anxiety around law enforcement, their own experiences with trauma. And they're all saying the same thing. They want more of what they saw in that video." Captain opened his own folder. "I saw your email this morning, the Lilly Foundation, a therapy K9 program." He looked up at, "Tell me why this isn't crazy." Took a deep breath. This was it. "Sir, with respect, it's crazy that we haven't been doing this already. We train our K9s to be intimidating, to be weapons, to create fear. And that serves a purpose in law enforcement. But what happened yesterday showed me that our dogs are capable of so much more. Rex has been trained to detect, to pursue, to apprehend. But he's also capable of comfort, of connection, of healing." He pulled out his proposal. "I've drafted a program that would keep K9 units in their primary law enforcement roles, but add therapeutic training and certification. Dogs would visit children's hospitals, work with trauma victims, attend crisis calls where a calming presence could de-escalate situations. We'd be expanding our community outreach in ways that actually matter." Deputy Chief Martinez exchanged a glance with the captain. "Do you know how much additional training that would require? How many liability issues it raises? How much it would cost?" "Yes, ma'am. I've outlined it all here." Slid the document across the table. "I've also contacted 3 organizations that would provide grant funding specifically for this type of program. And as for liability, therapy dog certification comes with its own insurance protocols. I've researched programs in Seattle, Boston, and Portland that have successfully integrated similar models." The room fell silent. Captain flipped through the proposal, his expression thoughtful. Deputy Chief Martinez read over his shoulder. Finally, she spoke. "Officer, I'm going to be honest with you. When the captain called me last night and told me to watch a video of your dog playing with a toddler, I thought he was wasting my time. I thought it was just another viral moment that would be forgotten by next week." His heart sank. "But then I read the comments," she continued. "I saw the hunger in people's responses. I've spent 30 years in law enforcement watching the gap between police and community grow wider. And yesterday, a 3-year-old girl bridged that gap in 2 words." She looked directly at, "I lost my son to suicide 8 years ago. He was 14. Before he died, he was terrified of everything, school, crowds, even leaving the house. Therapy helped, medication helped, but you know what actually got him to smile? A therapy dog that visited his psychiatric unit. A golden retriever named Sunny. My son petted that dog for 45 minutes straight and didn't have a panic attack for the first time in months." Her voice wavered slightly, but she maintained her composure. "He took his life 3 weeks later. But I remember thinking that if we'd had access to that dog more often, if he'd had that kind of consistent support, maybe." The room was absolutely silent. I'm telling you this, officer, because I need you to understand something. If you're going to do this, if you're going to create a program that puts emotionally vulnerable people, especially children, in contact with these animals, you can't half-ass it. You can't treat it like a publicity stunt. These dogs will become lifelines for people who are drowning. Do you understand that responsibility? Nodded, his throat tight. Yes, ma'am, I do. Because my daughter drowned 4 years ago, and yesterday a little girl and my dog threw me a lifeline I didn't even know I needed. Deputy Chief Martinez sat back in her chair. She looked at Captain. How soon can we get started? Blinked. You're approving it. Not just approving it, Captain said with a slight smile. We're fast-tracking it. The mayor wants to announce it at a press conference next week. You'll be the program director. We're allocating budget for 3 additional K-9 units to join immediately, with plans to expand to 10 within the year. We're also going to need that little girl, Deputy Chief Martinez added. Emma, if her mother agrees, we'd like her to be part of the launch. She's the face of this program whether we planned it or not. Felt like he couldn't breathe. I don't know what to say. Say you can handle this, the deputy chief replied. Say you understand that you're about to become very public-facing. Say you're prepared to train not just dogs but officers to open up parts of themselves they've kept locked away. Thought about the empty bedroom in his apartment, about the walls he'd built, about 4 years of grief and isolation, about Emma's fearless approach and her simple words that had shattered everything. I can handle it, he said firmly, and I know exactly where to start. Captain stood, extending his hand. Then welcome to your new assignment, officer. Report Monday morning to start training protocols. And yes, sir. That little girl saved more than just you yesterday. She might have just saved this whole department's relationship with the community. Don't forget that. As left the conference room, Rex trotting beside him, he pulled out his phone. He had Maria's number. She'd given it to him at the festival, saying Emma wouldn't stop talking about her puppy, and maybe they could arrange another visit. He typed, Ms. This is Officer. Would you and Emma be available to meet this afternoon? I have something important to discuss with you. It involves Rex and your daughter changing a lot of lives, starting with mine. He hit send, then knelt down and wrapped his arms around Rex's neck. We're going to help people, boy, he whispered. We're going to save kids like Lily, like Emma, like all the ones who need us. Rex's tail wagged, and in that moment, knew with absolute certainty that this was what he was meant to do. This was how Lily's story and his own could mean something beyond pain. This was how 2 simple words, good boy, could change the world. Maria stared at her phone, reading text message for the 3rd time. She was standing in the break room of Valley Dental Associates, where she worked as a receptionist, and her hands were shaking slightly. Emma had talked about nothing but Officer and Rex the puppy since the festival. The child had drawn pictures of the dog, told everyone at her about him, and asked at least 20 times when they could visit the nice policeman again. But this message felt bigger than just another visit. Maria's peered over her shoulder. Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. The police officer from the festival wants to meet today, Maria said, showing her the text. He says it's important, about Emma and his dog. His eyes widened. Girl, that video has like 10 million views now. My sister in California sent it to me. She had no idea it was your Emma. What could he want? Maria didn't know, but something in her gut told her this was life-changing. She texted back, we can meet at 4 p.m. Desert Ridge Park. Emma gets out of at 3:30. The response came immediately. Perfect, see you then, thank you. The rest of Maria's workday crawled by at an agonizing pace. She kept checking her phone, reading news articles about the viral video. One headline read, Police dog's tender moment with toddler sparks conversation about law enforcement and community. Another proclaimed, 3-year-old girl teaches police dog and all of us about trust. When she finally picked up Emma from Little Sunshine, her daughter came running with a paper in her hand. I made a picture. It was a crayon drawing of a brown blob with 4 legs that was presumably Rex, and a stick figure with curly hair that was clearly Emma. At the top, in the teacher's handwriting, were the words Emma had dictated. "Me and my best friend Rex the good boy." Maria's heart clenched. How would you like to go see Rex today? Emma's shriek of joy could probably be heard 3 blocks away. At Desert Ridge Park was already waiting on a bench in the shade, Rex sitting calmly beside him, but wasn't alone. There was a woman in a business suit with him, Deputy Chief Martinez, and Officer Sarah with a clipboard. Maria's stomach flipped nervously. This was definitely more than just a casual visit. Emma, oblivious to any adult tensions, broke free from her mother's hand the moment she saw Rex and ran toward the dog, shouting, "Rex, it's me, Emma." Rex's tail began wagging immediately. The transformation from the first time was even more remarkable. The dog was clearly excited to see Emma, greeting her with gentle enthusiasm as she wrapped her arms around his neck. "Good boy," Emma said happily. "I missed you so much." Stood smiling despite his obvious nerves. "Ms., thank you for coming. This is Deputy Chief Martinez, and you remember Officer from the festival." Maria shook hands with both women, feeling completely out of her depth. "Please call me Maria. What's this about?" They sat on the park benches while Emma played with Rex on the grass nearby, the dog lying down so she could pet him more easily. Took a deep breath and began explaining the Lilly Foundation, his vision for a Therapy K9 program, the department's approval, the funding, the press conference scheduled for next week. "And we'd like Emma to be part of the announcement," Deputy Chief Martinez said gently. "Not in an exploitative way. We're not looking to use your daughter as a prop, but the truth is, she started this. Her fearlessness, her kindness, it sparked something that's going to help a lot of people. We think it would be powerful for families to see that this program came from a real moment between a real child and a real police dog." Maria listened, her mind racing. She looked at Emma, who was now trying to teach Rex how to play patty cake, her little hands patting his massive paws. What would it involve? Officer consulted her clipboard. "Just attending the press conference. The mayor will speak, will explain the program, and we'd have Emma and Rex demonstrate their bond. Maybe 5 minutes total. We'd make sure it's comfortable for her. No scary crowds right in her face, nothing overwhelming." "There's more," added quietly. "If you're willing, and only if you're willing, we'd like Emma to be part of Rex's therapy training. We're going to be certifying him officially as a therapy dog while maintaining his police duties. Having a child involved in the training would be invaluable. She'd essentially be teaching other therapy dog teams how to interact with kids." "You want my 3-year-old to train police officers?" Maria said incredulously. Smiled. "I know how it sounds, but Emma has something we can't teach: pure, unself-conscious trust. She can show other handlers what genuine connection looks like. And honestly, it would probably be good for her too. She'd be learning responsibility, empathy, how to be gentle with animals. We'd pay you for her time, of course. Treat it like a part-time job with very flexible hours." Maria's head was spinning. A week ago, she'd been chasing her wild toddler through a festival. Now police administrators were asking her daughter to be the face of a citywide program. "I need to think about this." "Of course," Deputy Chief Martinez said immediately. "Take all the time you need, but Maria, I want you to understand something." She pulled out her phone and showed Maria the comment section on the video. "Look at these. Really look at them." Maria scrolled through hundreds of comments. Parents talking about their children's fears. People sharing stories of trauma. Teachers discussing students who couldn't trust authority figures. And threaded through all of it, messages of hope. One comment read, "My son has autism and he's terrified of dogs, but he watched this video and asked if we could try meeting one. We're going to a therapy dog session next week. First time he's been willing to try in 5 years. Another said, I'm a veteran with PTSD. I've been avoiding anything related to police or authority because of my hypervigilance. But watching that little girl's trust and that officer's tears made me remember why I served, made me want to try to heal. Maria's eyes filled with tears. All this from Emma saying, good boy. All this from Emma being exactly who she is, said. Brave, kind, trusting. The world needs more of that, Maria, and I think Emma can teach us how. Emma had apparently tired of teaching Rex patty cake and was now lying on the grass with her head on his side, staring up at the clouds. The dog was perfectly still, content to be her pillow, his eyes half closed in the afternoon sun. That's Lily's favorite thing to do, said softly, watching them. She'd lie in the backyard and make shapes out of clouds. She'd tell me stories about what she saw, dragons and castles and magical puppies. Maria looked at this man, this tough police officer who'd lost his daughter and built walls around his grief, and saw him vulnerable and open in a way that was both heartbreaking and beautiful. Okay, she said, we'll do it. The press conference, the training, all of it. But the moment Emma isn't having fun anymore, the moment it becomes pressure or stress, we stop. Deal. Deal, said immediately, relief flooding his face. Deputy Chief Martinez smiled, the first real smile Maria had seen from her. Thank you, Maria. You have no idea what this means. Actually, Maria said, looking at her daughter lying peacefully with the big police dog, I think I'm starting to. Emma sat up suddenly. Can Rex come to my birthday party? It's in 2 weeks and I want him to meet Abuela and Uncle Carlos and everyone. The adults laughed. We'll see, Maria said. But was already nodding. I think Rex would love that. The press conference was scheduled for the following Wednesday at Phoenix City Hall. In the days leading up to it, worked around the clock. He coordinated with therapy dog certification organizations, consulted with child psychologists about best practices, and drafted training protocols for other K-9 units who'd expressed interest in the program. He also spent 3 hours every afternoon with Emma and Maria, watching how Emma interacted with Rex, taking notes on what made the connection so special. Emma was a natural teacher, explaining to very seriously that puppies need gentle hands and soft voices and lots of good boys. Other children from the neighborhood started joining the sessions. Word had spread that the famous festival dog was at the park every day, and soon found himself supervising a small group of kids learning how to approach dogs safely, how to read canine body language, how to be respectful and kind. Rex thrived on it. The dog who'd been all business for 3 years was blossoming into something new while maintaining his edge. He could still switch into work mode instantly, had tested it multiple times, but he also had this whole other side now, gentle and patient and loving. On Tuesday night, the evening before the press conference, sat in his apartment with his laptop, reviewing his speech one more time. His phone rang. It was a number he hadn't called in 2 years. Hello, he answered cautiously. It's Jennifer. His ex-wife. His stomach tightened. They'd ended things badly, both drowning in grief after Lily's death, unable to help each other, pulling apart instead of together. I saw the video, Jennifer continued, her voice thick with emotion. I saw you crying, I saw that little girl. I've watched it probably 50 times, and I'm so glad you found this, found a way through. His eyes burned. Jen, you don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm proud of you. Lily would be so proud of you. This program, the Lily Foundation, it's perfect. It's exactly what she would have wanted. They talked for an hour, really talked for the first time since the divorce. They cried together. They remembered Lily together. And when they finally hung up, felt like another piece of his broken heart had been carefully placed back where it belonged. He looked at Rex, sleeping peacefully on the dog bed in the corner. Tomorrow, They'd stand in front of cameras and reporters and city officials and announce a program that would change lives. But tonight just whispered into the quiet apartment. "Thank you, Emma. Thank you for showing us how to heal." Phoenix City Hall press room was packed beyond capacity. News crews from every major network had cameras set up. Reporters filled every seat, with more standing along the walls. The video of Emma and Rex had now been viewed over 25 million times, and the story had captured national attention. This wasn't just a local press conference anymore. It was a moment that people across the country were watching. Stood backstage, his dress uniform feeling too tight, his palms sweating. Rex sat calmly beside him, but could see the dog's ears twitching at all the commotion. Beside them, Emma was wearing a new dress that Maria had bought specially for the occasion, yellow with white flowers. She was holding a stuffed dog toy and seemed completely unconcerned about the crowd of people waiting beyond the curtain. "You ready?" Maria asked, kneeling down to straighten Emma's collar for the 5th time. "I get to see Rex," Emma said happily, as if that was the only thing that mattered, which, for a 3-year-old, it probably was. Mayor David, no relation to Officer Sarah, approached them with Deputy Chief Martinez. The mayor was a kind-faced man in his early 60s who'd built his political career on community engagement and reform. "Officer Ms., thank you both for being here. This is going to be something special." "Mr. Mayor," said, shaking his hand, his voice tight with nerves. "Relax," the mayor said with a warm smile. "Just tell your story. That's all anyone wants to hear, the truth." The press conference began with the mayor's opening remarks. Watched on a monitor backstage as Mayor spoke about the importance of reimagining public safety, about building bridges between law enforcement and the communities they served, about innovation and compassion. "But I'm not the story today," the mayor said, his voice carrying through the packed room. "The story belongs to a 3-year-old girl named Emma, a Phoenix police officer named, and a very special dog named Rex. Officer, please come out." His heart pounded as he walked onto the stage with Rex. The camera flashes were immediate and blinding. He stepped up to the podium, his prepared speech suddenly feeling inadequate. But then he saw Emma in the wings, waving at him enthusiastically, and something settled in his chest. "Good afternoon," began, his voice stronger than he expected. 10 days ago, I was working a community festival with my K9 partner Rex. We'd worked together for 3 years, and in that time, Rex had been an exemplary police dog. He'd helped take dangerous criminals off the streets, had located missing persons, had been instrumental in major drug seizures. He was, by every measure, a success. Paused, looking down at Rex. But he was also intimidating. People were afraid of him. Children kept their distance, and I thought that was just how it had to be. Rex was a working dog, a tool of law enforcement. That was his role, and I never questioned it. The room was absolutely silent, every reporter leaning forward. 10 days ago, a little girl named Emma changed everything I thought I knew about my partner and about myself. His voice wavered slightly. She ran up to Rex, this massive, intimidating police dog, and said 2 words, "Good boy." And she meant it. She saw past everything I'd trained him to project. She saw his heart. Had to pause, swallowing hard. 4 years ago, I lost my daughter Lily to leukemia. She was 3 years old, almost 4, and she loved dogs. She wanted a big dog just like Rex. She never got that chance. After she died, I built walls around my grief. I threw myself into work. I kept everything professional, cold, controlled. I thought that's what strength looked like. Several reporters were wiping their eyes now. Could see Sarah in the front row, tears streaming down her face. Emma showed me that real strength looks like trust, like openness, like fearless love. And she showed Rex something too, that he could be more than one thing, that he could be both a working police dog and a gentle companion, that those roles didn't have to be separate. Gestured to Deputy Chief Martinez, who stood nearby. "The Phoenix Police Department is launching the Lily Foundation, a comprehensive K-9 therapy program. Our police dogs will receive dual training and certification. They'll continue their law enforcement duties, but they'll also visit children's hospitals, work with trauma survivors, attend crisis calls where a calming presence can make all the difference. We're starting with 4 K-9 teams, with plans to expand to 12 within the year. The mayor stepped forward, and we have grant funding committed from 3 major foundations, totaling $750,000 to support training, certification, and program expansion. We've also partnered with Phoenix Children's Hospital, Banner Health, and the Arizona Trauma Network. Continued, I'd like to introduce you to the young lady who started all of this. Emma and her mother Maria, please come out. Maria walked onto the stage carrying Emma, who immediately squirmed to get down when she saw Rex. The moment her feet hit the ground, Emma ran to the dog, wrapping her arms around his neck. The cameras went crazy, flashes lighting up the room like lightning. "Good boy, Rex," Emma said into the microphone that was still live, her sweet voice echoing through the speakers. "You're the bestest good boy." The press room erupted in applause. Several reporters were openly crying. Emma, completely oblivious to the significance of the moment, was busy telling Rex about her stuffed dog toy. The mayor knelt down beside Emma. "Emma, did you know that you're helping a lot of people?" Emma looked up at him seriously. "I'm helping Rex, he's my friend." "Yes, you are," the mayor said, his own eyes misty. "You're a very good friend." The question and answer session that followed was unlike anything had experienced. Reporters didn't ask about police procedures or liability or budget concerns. They asked about healing, about hope, about how one moment of pure kindness could ripple outward and change systems. One reporter stood up, her voice shaking. "Officer, my nephew has severe anxiety. He's 8 years old and afraid of everything, crowds, loud noises, especially anything related to police or authority figures because of sensory issues. When can we access this program?" Felt the weight of her question, the desperation behind it. "We begin hospital visits next week. I'm going to make sure Rex is one of the first teams deployed. Please talk to me after this conference. We'll figure out how to help your nephew." Another reporter asked, "Ms., did you have any idea that taking your daughter to a festival would lead to this?" Maria, holding Emma, who was getting sleepy against her shoulder, laughed softly. "No, I was just trying to give my daughter a fun day. I never imagined all of this. But I'm grateful. If Emma's fearlessness can help other children feel safe, help other families heal, then I'm honored to be part of it." The press conference lasted 90 minutes. When it finally ended, was surrounded by reporters wanting follow-up interviews, parents sharing stories of their traumatized children, other police departments asking how they could implement similar programs. Deputy Chief Martinez pulled him aside. "You need to see this." She showed him her phone. Social media was exploding. The hashtag #GoodBoyRex was trending nationally. Police departments in 12 cities had already announced they were exploring similar programs. 3 more foundations had reached out offering funding. "This is bigger than Phoenix now," she said. "This is becoming a national movement." Looked at Emma, asleep now in her mother's arms, her hand still clutching Rex's collar even in sleep. The dog sat perfectly still, guarding the little girl who'd changed his life. Officer Sarah approached with a clipboard full of messages. "You've got interview requests from Good Morning America, The Today Show, CNN, and about 20 other outlets. Phoenix Children's Hospital wants Rex to start visits immediately. They have a waiting list of 40 families already. And there's a family here. They drove 3 hours from Tucson. Their daughter has terminal cancer and she's been asking to meet the good boy dog since she saw the video." Looked at Rex. The dog looked back at him with those intelligent eyes, and could have sworn Rex understood everything that was being asked of them. "Tell Good Morning America yes, but it has to be done here in Phoenix. We're not traveling yet. Tell the hospital we'll start visits tomorrow, And please bring that family from Tucson to me right now. If their daughter wants to meet Rex, then we're going to make that happen today." Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes again. "You're going to change the world." "No," said, watching Emma sleep peacefully against her mother's shoulder. "A 3-year-old girl already did. I'm just trying to keep up." That evening, after the cameras had been packed away and the reporters had left, drove to Forest Lawn Cemetery for the first time in 2 years. He stood at Lily's grave with Rex beside him, the setting sun casting long shadows across the grass. "Hey, baby girl," he said softly. "I brought someone to meet you. This is Rex. He's going to help a lot of kids, Lily, kids like you, kids who are scared and hurt and need something good in their lives." Rex sat quietly, his tail wagging gently as if he could sense the sacredness of this moment. "A little girl named Emma reminded me what you always knew, that love is braver than fear. That kindness is stronger than armor. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just be gentle." Knelt down, his hand on Lily's headstone. "I'm going to make sure your name helps people, sweetheart. The Lily Foundation is going to save lives. I promise you that." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, felt something he hadn't felt since Lily died. Peace. 6 months had passed since the press conference that changed everything. Officer stood in the pediatric oncology wing of Phoenix Children's Hospital, the same sterile white hallways where his daughter Lily had spent her final days. But today felt different. Today, he wasn't here as a grieving father. He was here with Rex, and they were here to help. The hospital had transformed an entire conference room into what they called the Good Boy Room, a comfortable space with soft lighting, bean bags, toys, and most importantly, a rotation of therapy K-9 teams from the Lily Foundation. Rex was the star, but he now had company. Officers and Martinez brought their German Shepherds weekly. Officer came with her Belgian. Officer visited with his golden retriever mix who'd been cross-trained from search and rescue. But today was special. Today, they were celebrating the program's 6-month anniversary, and Emma, now 3.5 years old, was here wearing her official junior volunteer badge that had presented to her at the press conference. Emma took her role very seriously. She walked beside with a clipboard that Maria had given her, though she couldn't read or write yet. She'd drawn pictures on it instead, stick figures of dogs and children holding hands. She called it her important papers. "Rex needs to be very gentle today," Emma explained with the utmost seriousness as they walked down the hallway. "Some kids are very sick and they need extra soft." "You're absolutely right," said, his heart swelling. "How did you get so smart?" "I'm a professional," Emma said matter-of-factly, a word she'd clearly heard adults use and adopted as her own. Their first visit was with 7-year-old Murphy, a boy with acute lymphoblastic leukemia who'd been in treatment for 8 months. His mother, Sarah Murphy, had been emailing for weeks, explaining that had become withdrawn and depressed, barely speaking to anyone, refusing to engage with nurses or doctors. When Emma entered the room with Rex, was staring at the wall, his small bald head resting against the pillow, dark circles under his eyes. He looked exactly like Lily had in those final weeks and had to steady himself against the doorframe. Sarah said softly, "The therapy dog is here, remember, the one from the video you loved." Didn't move. Emma, however, was undeterred. She walked right up to the hospital bed, her clipboard tucked under her arm. "Hi, I'm Emma and this is Rex. He's a very good boy and he wants to meet you." Still nothing. Emma looked at Rex, then then climbed up on the chair beside the bed without asking permission. "You know what?" she said conversationally. "Rex was really scary before. Everyone was afraid of him, but I wasn't afraid because I knew he was nice inside. Are you scared?" Finally turned his head slightly. His voice was barely a whisper. "I'm not scared of the dog." "What are you scared of?" Emma asked with the blunt honesty only children possess. His eyes filled with tears. everything else. The room fell silent. Sarah's hand went to her mouth, felt his own eyes burning. Emma nodded sagely as if this made perfect sense. That's okay. Rex helps with the scared feelings. You can pet him if you want. It makes the scared smaller. She gestured and commanded Rex to place his front paws on the chair, bringing his head level with the bed. The massive German Shepherd moved with careful precision, stopping exactly where he could be reached without overwhelming the fragile child. Stared at Rex for a long moment. Then slowly, he reached out one thin hand and touched the dog's fur. Rex remained perfectly still, his dark eyes gentle and patient. "Good boy," whispered. And then, for the first time in 8 months of treatment, Murphy smiled. Sarah burst into tears, her hand clutching his arm. "Oh my God," she sobbed. "He smiled, he actually smiled." Emma, pleased with this development, continued her therapy session. "See, Rex is magic. He makes sad people happy. That's his job, and my job is to help him do his job." For the next 45 minutes, talked more than he had in months. He told Rex about his favorite video games, about missing his friends at school, about how the medicine made him feel sick. Rex listened to everything, occasionally licking his hand, his presence a steady comfort. When it was time to leave, asked, "Can Rex come back?" "Every week," promised. "Rex and Emma will visit you every single week until you're better." "What if I don't get better?" asked, his voice small and scared. Knelt down so he was eye level with the boy. This was Lily's question, the one she'd asked him 3 weeks before she died. He'd lied to her then, promised her everything would be okay. He wouldn't lie too. "Then Rex and I will be here anyway," said, his voice steady despite the tears on his cheeks. "Because you deserve to have good things in your life no matter what. You deserve to feel safe and loved. That's what Rex is here for." Nodded, satisfied with this answer in a way that only someone facing mortality could be. "Good boy, Rex," he said one more time. As they left the room, Sarah caught up with them in the hallway. "Officer, I don't know how to thank you, has been shutting down, pulling away from everyone. But today he came back to us a little bit." Handed her his card. "Call me anytime, day or night. If needs Rex, we'll be here." The rest of the day was a blur of visits. They saw 12 children total, cancer patients, trauma survivors, kids with severe anxiety disorders. Emma assisted with each one, showing children how to approach Rex, explaining in her simple 3-year-old wisdom that puppies make everything better. By 3 p.m., Emma was exhausted, falling asleep in one of the bean-bag chairs in the good boy room. Rex lay down beside her, and Emma instinctively curled against his warm side, her thumb in her mouth, completely at peace. Maria arrived to pick her up, and she stood in the doorway of the good boy room watching her daughter sleep with the big police dog. "She talks about this more than anything else in her life," Maria said softly, "being Rex's helper. She tells everyone at that she has an important job helping sick kids." "She does have an important job," replied. "She's teaching us all how to heal." Maria wiped her eyes. "I need to tell you something. I got offered a promotion at work, more money, better hours, but it's at our corporate office in Scottsdale. We'd have to move." His heart sank. "When?" "I turned it down," Maria said, looking at Emma and Rex. "How could I take her away from this? She's found her purpose at 3 years old. Most people spend their whole lives searching for that. We're staying." Couldn't speak. He just nodded, grateful beyond words. That evening, the Lilly Foundation held its 6-month review meeting at the police station. Deputy Chief Martinez presented the statistics, and they were staggering. Rex and the 11 other K-9 teams had conducted over 800 therapeutic visits. They'd worked with 347 individual children, 89 trauma survivors, and had been present at 23 crisis intervention calls where their calming presence had helped de-escalate potentially dangerous situations. But the real impact was in the stories. The teenage girl with PTSD who spoke for the first time in 6 months after meeting Rex. The 5-year-old boy with autism who'd never made eye contact with anyone until he looked into Rex's eyes. The domestic violence survivor who was able to testify in court because Rex sat beside her in the witness box. We've received requests from 47 police departments across the country wanting to implement similar programs, Deputy Chief Martinez announced. The National Police K-9 Foundation has asked us to develop a training curriculum that can be distributed nationwide. Officer, you've created something that's changing law enforcement across America. Shook his head. Emma created it, I just learned to listen. After the meeting, drove to Forest Lawn Cemetery again. It had become his weekly ritual, visiting Lily's grave with Rex, telling her about the children they'd helped, the lives they'd touched. Tonight he had something special to share. Lily, baby girl, we met a boy today named. He reminded me so much of you. Same age you would be now, same scared eyes, same brave heart. Knelt by the headstone, Rex sitting patiently beside him. He smiled today because of Rex, because of Emma, because of this program that carries your name. The Lily Foundation has helped 347 kids so far, sweetheart. That's 347 children who felt a little less scared, a little less alone. The evening air was cool, carrying the scent of freshly cut grass. The cemetery was quiet except for the distant sound of traffic and birds settling in for the night. Emma asked me today if you and her could have been friends, continued, his voice breaking. I told her yes. I told her you would have loved her fearlessness, her kindness, her absolute certainty that love is stronger than fear. She said she's going to keep being your friend by helping Rex help other kids. Pulled a small toy from his pocket, a stuffed German shepherd that Emma had insisted he bring. She wanted you to have this. She said everyone needs a good boy to watch over them, even in heaven. He placed the stuffed dog at the base of Lily's headstone. Rex sniffed it once, then sat back down, his vigil continuing. I miss you every single day, whispered. Every single moment. But Emma showed me that grief doesn't have to be a wall. It can be a bridge. Your love can reach forward and help children I haven't even met yet. Your memory can be a light instead of a shadow. As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of purple and gold, felt a peace he'd been chasing for 4 years. Lily was gone, and that wound would never fully heal. But Emma had shown him that broken things could still be beautiful, that something shattered could be rebuilt into something new and purposeful. Good boy, Rex said, echoing the words that had changed everything. The dog's tail wagged, and in the fading light could have sworn he heard a little girl's laughter on the wind. 3.5 years old, fearless and kind, speaking 2 words that would ripple out into the world forever. Good boy. And because of those words, hundreds of children would feel safer. Thousands more would learn that healing is possible. And one grieving father would find his way back to the light, guided by a toddler's trust and a dog's gentle heart. The legacy of 2 words, the power of unconditional love, the promise that even in the darkest places, there are good boys who will sit with you until morning comes.